Season 3, episode 1 and 2 of Abbott Elementary Career Day is over, but we are here to talk about it all on Recap Kickback. That's right. If you are listening to this on the Abbott a Post Show Recap feed or the Post Show Recaps feed, welcome to Recap Kickback. It's your boy Chappell, and I'm back again to talk about Abbott Elementary, but in a different place. So you're probably hearing this on your feed, but don't adjust your dial. You can come and catch all of our coverage on Recap Kickback moving forward and in these spots until we say no more. But yeah, in case you haven't noticed, we are moving our Abbott Elementary recaps over to Recap Kickback for the time being. And with me, per usual, back again for season 3, my co-host, my principal, Gia Worthy. Gia, welcome to the kickback. It's new, right? You like this?
It's new. There's a lot of big changes happening at Abbott Elementary, as well as with our new home, the Recap Kickback. I gotta listen. This is the first time I said it out loud, so I need to I just need some time. There's a lot of alliteration in there, and I will get better. I will, just like Ava. I will get better, and then slowly decline back to where I was at the beginning, because we love characters that don't learn anything, like that's my bread and butter. So, however, I was so excited for season 3 to finally happen. I am very excited with everything that's going on this year, this academic year, I should say. So much so that prior to preseason, I know some people do like preseason coverage, maybe some interviews here and there, research. I did none of that. Instead, I took a page out of Harvard campus Wi-Fi graduate Ava's playbook and purchased a hoodie and bedazzled my name on it to make sure that people knew. So it was Georgia, for those that are not listening to the video version, and have like a little bedazzle on the Gia part. So, Ava continues to inspire me even when the season was not officially on the air yet.
Yes, Ava inspiring us all and leading us back into our season 3 of Abbott Elementary coverage here on Recap Kickback. If you have not subscribed to Recap Kickback, go to recapkickback.com and do just that. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and then make sure you check out the YouTube video so you can take a look at Gia's sweatshirt, because now that she has the Gia bedazzled, very Ava-ish, it's definitely something that you need to see. So check that out. Come and subscribe on YouTube. Click like on this video and let us know what you were thinking about Abbott Elementary as season 3 has now kicked off. Now, in the past, G and I have covered Abbott like every other week, because there's a lot of episodes of Abbott Elementary to go around every season. I mean, we started getting renewed for 22 episode seasons, but recently, because of the writer's strike, this season is going to be a little bit shorter. Now, G and I are still going to cover the show bi-weekly or every other week, I guess. And this time, we're just getting a little bit later of a start since we're moving things over to the kickback. So we got episodes 1 and 2 coming your way right now. And then episode 3 and 4 will be coming soon. And then from there, every other week, you should be expecting 2 episodes of Abbott covered in one podcast every other week. So that's how things are happening. That's the housekeeping right now. I want to thank you all for being back, for listening. And I want to just go ahead and let you know that moving forward, there are changes at the district as well. Gia, not to jump ahead of everything else, but this is an Emmy Award winning show. During the preseason, before you bedazzled your hoodie, Quinta Brunson went out and won the Emmy for Best Actress in a Comedy Series. And look at this. I mean, we love this show, but I'm glad that Abbott is getting his flowers, especially Quinta Brunson, because she deserves it, in my opinion.
Yes, I am so glad to see that from what I have seen personally, Abbott is getting its recognition, not just with the awards, which of course is very important because it helps hype up the show. It gives it a lot of press. It just gives the excellence that is happening on the show its flowers, and the cast as well. I wouldn't say they were like unknowns before, but I feel like this was not anybody coming in with like huge names, like someone that went from one huge show that just ended into another show that was just starting. We had like we have a lot of like titans of like maybe like a decade or so ago. So I'm really happy to see their careers flourishing with these roles. Also seeing a lot of like new actors that may not have necessarily gotten the accolades that they deserved many years ago getting their shine. But also even in the show itself, I feel like with I've talked about it before, like my dad and stepmom both work in the school system. Me and my siblings all grew up like in the school system and like different types of schooling systems when we were growing up, but then also comparing it to like the public school system that we grew up in. And it's so nice to see such relatable and funny content that we can hear back and hear people say like, hey, this is, you know, I can relate to this. This is something that I'm really enjoying. And also just the diversity of the show in general. I know this is a mockumentary style type of show, so it's going to obviously get compared to some equally famous mockumentary style shows like The Office or Parks and Rec. Probably our two biggest examples, most prominent examples. And while, of course, I love both of those shows, they're very funny, I don't quite relate to those shows as much as I relate to Abbott Elementary as a woman of color being surrounded by other people of color as well. And I think that's something that's very different about this show. So it's just really nice to see it getting their accolades in there, but also like they got money now. Like they got they have money now, even though even with like before the first two episodes air, I heard people talking about just small things like the quality of some of the actresses' wigs are better than it was in the first season, or like Janine got a new side part, you know, things like that, like little things where people are like, oh, we can see the budget going up. But if you had told me that we were getting some of the cast like or the guest appearances that we were getting in these first two episodes alone, and we'll talk about episodes 3 and 4 as well, but the first two episodes alone getting 3 Philadelphia Eagles on cameos for this show, like it just ends across the board, just so well done. I'm so happy to see Abbott continuing to flourish here.
Yes, Gia, you said it great. No notes there. Abbott is giving us exactly what we needed. Both of us educators in our own right, we can relate to this show. People of color for sure can relate to this show. I think this is just the feel-good show of the century. I really do. I think that anybody who watches this show is going to instantly get addicted to it. And I am so happy to be able to break down all the episodes with you, because although Abbott is about the kids and it's about the education and it's about Philadelphia, it's got a little drama involved in Abbott. And Quinta Brunson makes sure that we are fed. This is a funny show, but also it gets a little messy. And now that we are back for season 3, we find out that it starts off with some mess. So 5 months ago, there was some conversations about what happens next at Abbott at professional development. Janine Teagues is there. She's saying, hey, I think we should do a career day. Everybody's like, okay, career day, that might be something. The district hears it. They start to listen to it. They say, okay, maybe we do that. Before that 5-month period starts, there's a conversation between Janine and Gregory. Now, you and I, we have been tracking the will they, won't they of Janine and Gregory for a very long time. And in this episode, Gia, we got a conversation that went a little something like this. Janine is saying, hey, I'm thinking about taking a job with the district. Gregory says, oh, you sure you want to do that? It's going to be weird if you leave, you know, and there's a moment of hesitation. Well, then we get Ava's footage. And in Ava's footage, we see that Janine actually makes a move at Gregory. She says, remember that time you talked to me about your feelings and we had that moment at the museum? What if we explored that a little bit further? Gia, I was shocked to see that Gregory shot your girl down. What happened here? What is going on?
When I tell you, I almost did not have a TV at the end of the night because I almost threw my remote control at the TV. I listen, I knew they were not getting together at the beginning of the season. I knew it. But the way they executed it, Chappell, I was mad. I was so mad. It was so good. It was so good. It's not saying anything to the quality of the show, but it got a reaction out of me, and it was not a pleasant one. I was a different person that night. I cannot lie. So Janine has a little change of heart. I think she always had some feelings for Gregory, and I understand her reasoning for not immediately wanting to pursue it. And also, as a newly single girly, I can understand her having a change of heart. You know, like that's not, that's something that comes with the territory of not being in a relationship. I get it. But Gregory just shutting it all down immediately, like, oh, but I put a period on it. What do you mean you put a period on that? Like, so yeah. So Ava was like me, like eating popcorn, watching her security kit. Because even when the camera crew was not present for all of this, she had the tea, she had the details, which is always great. But yes, so we had a brief hope of Janine and Gregory having a little something during this premiere episode, only to get it immediately shot down. And I'm not that surprised, because I think it is really in line with Gregory's character as well. He does seem like he takes things at face value. I've heard some people, Chappell, I don't know if you've heard of like I guess I'll call them fan theories, but people kind of analyzing that Gregory could be like somewhere on the spectrum, or someone that like takes things at face value. And I can definitely see that. I think that I actually really like this theory. I think that it's adds another layer to his character, whether you want to interpret it that way or not. But whether or not you think of it as that way, Gregory is someone that just takes things at face value. So when someone says like, I'm not in a place right now for that, I can see him as somebody that is like, all right, that's done, let me move on to other things now. But this is the relationship that we're like, we know it's going to be endgame. We know that like that's what we're working towards. And it's just so frustrating to know that that's what we're working towards, and to have another roadblock in front of it. Like, I've
been dying to talk to you about this, because I knew that you put your foot through your television screen when that happened.
I did.
Because even I was at home like, Gregory, boy, what you doing? You know, I feel him though. I feel the idea that she says, I'm not ready to do this. And he says, cool, bet, let's move on. And, it's hard to put a period on your feelings and say, okay, that's something that you said you weren't ready to explore. I compartmentalized that and I moved on. Mm-hmm. He ain't got to wait for her to be ready. However, Gregory, stop playing in our faces. You know what I'm saying? We've been watching this since season 1. We know this is supposed to happen. Give us what we deserve. Throughout this episode, we will learn that maybe Gregory just doesn't have his finger on the pulse of, what women want, maybe so he easily hurts people's feelings sometimes when he's not thinking along those lines, because like you said, he takes things very literally, very much at face value. And I think when Janine said she was cool, he said, all right, let's move on. And we've seen him move on before. This isn't the first time he's, diverted from the Janine path over to somebody else.
Yeah. And also, like, there's a couple months in between, like, when the museum happened and when this conversation happened. So it, obviously for us, they're only one episode apart. So it feels, even though we've been waiting a really long time, it feels like storyline wise, this was only like maybe a few weeks in between, but this has been a couple months. And I am not one to sympathize with men for no reason, but I do enjoy the fact that Abbott is subversing a lot of tropes that we get with a lot of these will they, won't they couples. I think Gregory was very open with his feelings in season 2 more than once. And with Janine not being really sure if that's exactly like what she wants from the relationship, or if she wants time to just be single since she was with Tyreek, who we will get to in a bit. I was very happy for the Tyreek cameo later on. But as someone that was in a relationship for so long that she, wants to have that time for herself. However, I am enjoying the fact that like she said, she's not sure, and Gregory responded to that in the affirmative, like, all right, got it. Like, he's not trying to convince her to change her mind or anything, which is a problem we get with another couple in this episode in one of our B plots. So I'm happy that we are kind of like taking it seriously and really recognizing, like, yes, we love these relationships. We think these couples are very cute. They have their good moments. However, we're not here to like change people's minds about what their boundaries are in a relationship, which people in other stories kind of push sometimes on the idea that they're romantic. So it's really nice to see a show as popular as Abbott Elementary really push back on that narrative. More than one relationship in this, even just in this premiere, honestly.
Yeah, big agree. So prior to all of the Janine and Gregory drama, we get the big career day reveal where this is Janine's big idea. The district is there to see it. And I guess this is another relationship we should be keeping an eye on. There are people from the district who have now come and been very hands-on at Abbott Elementary, and like they are shadowing the teachers, they're around for the development day, and they've taken a liking to Janine as somebody who could be very useful to the district. But one person in particular seems to stand out. Like his relationship with Janine, I have a big question mark on. We meet Manny. Now, Gia, Manny from the district, him and Janine, they seem to have a lot of the same quality. They're in the teachers' chat rooms together, trying to figure out what it is about the kids that they can help with. They seem to read the same books. They have the same interest. This feels professional. But is he looking at Janine as maybe something more than professional? Because they're locking eyes a lot for me, Gia. And I don't like this if we're trying to get to the Gregory Janine of it all.
Oh my God, no, absolutely. And I feel like this is my fault because I said before she gets with Gregory, I want her to have her flings. I want her to have her hoe phase that she missed out in her Tyreek era. So I apologize to everybody if this is the wish that gets me canceled. I understand. I deserve it. However, I think Manny is feeling Janine a little bit. I don't know what Janine's feelings are about Manny or how we are supposed to take Manny, but that man knew what he was doing with the turtleneck and chain. I'm sorry. Like, it's a signal. I'm sorry. Like, what? He's going to show up in gray sweatpants next? Like, grow up, Manny. We know what you're doing. You're not slick. So, yeah. So, I think he's definitely feeling Janine, but they almost, and listen, if I was Janine, I would respond in the affirmative. Like, I would have forgotten Gregory, but I am not as good a person as Janine. So that is different. Okay. Like Janine is better than I don't know what Janine is feeling right at this moment with the Manny situation, but I'm excited to see it progress. And I think a lot of people are uncertain of what to think of Manny right at this moment, which is fair because we've only seen him have like 3 of the 4 episodes that we've gotten so far, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And not really a ton either way. And I realized that a lot of people when they heard about this casting choice for him to be one of the guest stars of this season, I forget this actor's name, so I apologize because I haven't.
Josh Segarra, I believe is his name. Josh Segarra. Mm-hmm.
Josh Segarra, yeah. So I guess he has been, and he's very popular for 2 shows, and they're very different shows that people have seen him in, kind of have cult followings. One is Arrow, where he is like this diabolical villain, and the other 2 where he is this very lovable person. So I think people are responding based on which show they have seen, which is very interesting. I have not seen either show yet. I'd love to watch the other two at some point. But yeah, so Manny is a very interesting character. I'm excited to see where they go with him. But I definitely think he is feeling Janine here. There's just like no way. He knows what he likes, but they're just like too similar. Is it just me, or is this like when two blonde people date each other?
They date each
Like,
other and then they start looking alike as well. Yeah,
yeah,
very
then they just
weird.
it's just like it's like morally there's nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
Like there's nothing wrong with them dating each other. There's nothing wrong with Manny and Janine having a thing other than him not being Gregory. But they're just too alike. They're both too happy about the school district, you know? It's like, what are you doing? So I don't know if that like analogy resonates with anyone, but that's just what the vibe that I get from these two in particular.
And I think Jacob also picks up on the vibe because he's the one who goes to Janine and says, "So I see Manny looking at you."
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be a fan of Manny, but he's a bigger fan of Gregory, his king, his guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm with Jacob on this one. I'm rooting for Gregory at all
Yes.
costs. So I'm hoping that this Manny guy is here for a good time and not a long time. But it does feel like at least Janine has somebody at the district that she's able to connect with because
Mm-hmm.
she's going to get offered the Robeson Foundation what is it, fellowship, to where she goes and spends half her time at the district, and then people are like, and she gets to come back and I guess back and forth to Abbott Elementary while different substitute teachers cover her class. And we know that's going to be a source of drama throughout the season because even in episodes 1 and 2, Janine is already missing her students. She's coming back from the district, waving to the kids, really hoping that they react to her like, "Oh my God, we haven't seen Miss Teagues in a while." The kids are kind of unbothered, Gia. They don't seem to miss her as much as she misses them. Some of them wave, but I think that that's going to be a big source of drama. I don't think Janine is going to be able to stick out this fellowship for long because the kids are always going to be screaming out for her, at least in her mind.
Yeah, I don't know I feel like we haven't gotten a ton of the younger kid moments in this season yet where what we've said from the beginning, the kids are the stars of the show. They're like we have the stars, the main cast, but the real shining stars of the show itself are the kids that are a part of this show. And I feel like for these first 4 episodes, the main kid characters have been the older students, so like the 6th, 7th, 8th graders, which there's nothing wrong with that, but we really haven't seen a ton yet of the younger classes. Maybe a couple quips here for Barbara's class. But the 2nd grade, there's just not much going on with the kids yet in this season. They're not feeling Janine. They don't see her regularly enough for them to really miss her. She missed out on a lot of that time to really bond with those 2nd graders in the same way. And so now they're going through the substitute teachers a lot of the time. So it'll be, I'm sure we'll get a storyline at some point where they talk about it a little more, that maybe these students aren't really like having a chance to bond with the subs. But it gives a new challenge to Janine and her class this year, because Janine is someone that really wants to get to know her class and be liked by her class, be loved by her classes, because these are all a bunch of young students that are looking up to her. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah, and while the kids are not seemingly missing Janine at this point, there's somebody else who probably is not missing her that much either, and that's Ava. So if you're new here, this is a pro Ava podcast. We stand. I'm sorry, she's the moment. And Ava is happy that Janine is moving on because now she has a mole at the district, or at least she thinks she does. She thinks she has somebody on the inside who's going to be able to help her out, and that's great for Ava. Also, Janine is a bit annoying to Ava, so this is great. But with the district's new hands-on involvement with Janine in and out of the school, Ava has been having to keep, stay on her ones and twos about everything, really just like being on point about the rules so that, she doesn't get in any trouble. And so we also find out that Ava went to Harvard during our break. Gia, She went there. She was legally on the campus within reach of the Wi-Fi of Harvard. She's a whole different person now. She understands how to be a principal for real.
She got her education connection degree using the Harvard Law School Wi-Fi. And as she said, during her tenure at Cambridge, and it does count. I went to grad school in college right next to Harvard Medical School, I will tell you. So I walked through the Harvard Medical School campus. It basically makes me a doctor. Like, I am expecting my doctorate in the mail every day. I am qualified for this. I've even watched some Grey's Anatomy every now and then. So, don't play with me. I will perform surgery right here if I have to. But yes, I am so happy. I was very curious when the first promo pictures came out of Ava in her Harvard gear about what this meant for our principal here. And I think Ava is, I'm very happy that they continued that storyline of Ava getting the credentials that she originally needed to become a principal. So this is something that was not like a one-off note. We're finally able to see it come to fruition. But of course, it's never that simple with Ava. She's going to do it her way and her fashion. So of course she's going to take a trip up to the Harvard campus and get her degree that way. And I would expect nothing less from her.
Yeah. And now she's a stickler for the rules. She's like making sure that they shut everything down that's unorthodox. First of all, she's not even sexually harassing Gregory anymore. She didn't call him Foine, foin, like she normally would, right? She's telling Barbara that she can't have her desk a certain way. She strips cursive from the curriculum, which we've actually seen pretty much nationwide here in the United States. That a lot of the kids ain't learning cursive anymore, and so Ava is implementing these rules to the point where it is driving the other teachers crazy, and they need a plan. And I think that this moment, the Ava plan to change Ava back into her original form is one of my favorite moments in Abbott Elementary history, because their idea, first of all, is to give Ava some of the things that made her herself, right? Some of the things that she really likes, to kind of like make her revert. So the teachers say, all right, let's tempt her with money and scamming, two of her favorite things. They also tempt her with cutting work and going to see Usher. I mean, these things should normally stick for Ava, but none of it is working.
So timely, by the way, with the Usher concert.
Right.
Usher, they were really on the nose with this.
Obviously a timeless performer, so anytime you pull out Usher, it's going to make sense, and it just happens to hit right around the time of the Super Bowl performance. So kudos to Abbott Elementary. But Gia, they pull out the secret weapon, and it is Jeremy Allen Black, aka Gregory, and the gun show. They tell this man to go lean on the wall and to make sure that he flexes his muscles. It shows everybody, or shows Ava, what she might have forgotten was, her initial, muse here at Abbott Elementary. And Ava has no time for Gregory. She completely dismisses him, and he looks hurt at the idea that Ava is no longer head over heels for him.
He was upset that they even asked him to do this plan. Like, this man was so uncomfortable, but he was even more offended that it didn't work. Okay. And I think this is a running theme, not just with Abbott, but just like with workplace ecosystems in general, is that you have to have something to complain about, whether it's your boss not doing their job or Janine caring a little too much. Now they don't have either, and they don't know what to do with themselves here. They actually have a principal now that sticks to the rules, does everything by the book, and now they can't do off-campus lunches.
Yeah, they can't. No off-campus lunches, no educational feng shui in the classrooms. Ava's almost a completely different person. She hasn't listened to the city girls in months, or as Barbara calls them, the town women. So now we know that this is a dire circumstance, right? We the town women, yes. So desperate times call for desperate measures. They have to lie to Ava to get her to the gym and play a song that will bring Ava back into her old self. Gia, I saw this coming a mile away. The moment they said the city girls wouldn't work, I said, well, obviously they're going to play Juvenile here. And when I heard the beat drop for Back That Ass Up, I like stood up and fist pumped in the air because
Yes.
what era of television is this that we hear Cash Money Records taking over for the 99 and the 2000 in the year of our Lord 2024 on ABC of all networks? You know, I was like, we made it. We finally did
Yes.
it. Happy Black
This
History
is
Month.
this is our moment right here. Right here. This episode
Yes.
right here. Now listen. Never underestimate the power of a hoe anthem. They cannot say that on ABC. They cannot say what it actually is, but we all have at least one. Okay? Like we all have at least one. And
Mhm.
Back That Ass Up is a classic. You just like it's one of those songs that you like at the very least you got to mouth the words a little or just like
Mhm.
just do a little dance, you know? Just a little shimmy just to get it out of your system. You just can't say still there. And I think Ava, even when she has bettered herself, is always going to be Ava to some degree. And there are just some things that even she can ignore. So yeah, maybe Jeremy Allen Black's arms are not going to do it for her in the same way. And I have a little theory about that as well, which I will share in a moment. But back that ass up, certified way to, loosen up the rules, loosen up the restraints of that has been holding her back. So I think this was always going to work, and I love it. Love that this was like the solution to the big problem of this episode, at least for the first part. But I'm kind of loving that we haven't gotten too much yet of like Ava hitting on Gregory, because it was funny for the first season. She had some funny moments in the second one as well related to this, but I think by the third season, it is kind of like, all right, we get it. He's hot. We can all settle down
Mhm.
now. It's been bordering inappropriate, but like now it's like, all right, it's a little too much. But I really do think that Ava did admit at one point that Janine was a friend. She took it back and called her her colleague or her acquaintance.
Mhm.
But like, I think Ava does consider Ava a friend, even if she would rather die than actually admit it to
Mhm.
anybody within 100 feet of the Abbott Elementary premises. However, but I think she is really invested now in the Janine Gregory of it all, and like eventually is hoping that they do get back together, or they get together for the first time, I should say, and we get a little more than what is happening here. But she is one that she's feeding into the drama about Gregory and Janine. She is excited to see what was wrong. She was looking through all of the security footage. She knew what was happening with them and wanted to know more. So like I think she is diverging away from the fact that, I have a hot subordinate, and going more into, okay, but Janine and Gregory would actually be really cute together. She's on the same page with us finally.
Mhm. No, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about it as far as their friendship goes, but yeah, it's very clear that Ava has warmer feelings for Janine than she used to have, and maybe because of that, she's taken a step back from interfering as much with by flirting with Gregory. She's trying to give them space to breathe as a will they won't they couple. Because you're right, she was eating popcorn, watching the footage as well. Like she's in for the entire roller coaster, the will they, the won't they, and everything in between. And yeah, she doesn't need to be harassing this man at his place of business. Like you said, we got it in the first season, cool in the second season. All right, 3 seasons in, workplace harassment, we got to step up and say it's not okay. So
Yes.
shut that down and move forward toward a brighter future for Gregory and Janine. Maybe, right? We know it's probably coming, but just not yet. Now, Gia, one of the other storylines we've talked about a little bit, we've hinted at, is that love is in the air uh this season at Abbott Elementary, specifically with with Melissa Schmidt.
Oh my.
Now this storyline here is tough because Melissa and her vending machine guy Gary are going strong seemingly, but they are having a miscommunication about their futures or their thoughts about what could be their future, right? So we know Melissa does not want to get married. She's like, I'm done with that. That's not something I need in my life. And Gary is thinking of making things official throughout this episode. So they're several moments where Melissa goes to Gary and she's making sure that she's very clear that I don't want to get married. She openly says, that's not for me. I don't want that. But she also says it would take a freaking miracle for her to ever get married again. Now, Gary, who we see is maybe not picking up on the hints, he takes that and he says, okay, you don't want to get married? Cool. But if a freaking miracle happens, I have to act. And with Janine's career day plan, we get a botanist there that should make Gregory very happy. We get a zoologist there for Janine's class. We get Mr. Johnson, who, of course, should be number one pick for anybody's career day, as you and I both understand.
When Jacob, so I had no idea where we were going with this with the Jacob, because he was getting real excited about like very hopeful. I'm like, who could Jacob possibly have asked for that he is like so at the edge of his seat waiting to see who he's getting assigned for career day. And I should have known where it was going with this, but of course he got the, some may say, unconventional pick, but always the correct pick for career day.
Yes. Mr. Johnson, who has done it all, seen it all, been everywhere, he is Jacob's pick. And he is telling the kids about how he basically has like snuck his way into, was it Congress at one point or something? It served 3 terms, then sent the country into war. It was a whole thing. But again, Mr. Johnson should have been everybody's pick. These picks from Janine are going great. But the one that stops the show is her career day option for Melissa Schmidt. Now, it's a marketing professional from the Philadelphia Eagles. And while that might sound kind of boring, Melissa is the perfect person because she wants to hear everything about the Eagles. This woman is so Philly that she is never going to miss out on a chance for something like this. And the marketing guy realizes that he's not the most entertaining person from the Eagles that these kids will want to hear from. So he brings in the heavy hitters. We see Jalen Hurst appear on the screen for these kids at Abbott Elementary. And I was so happy for them. I know this is probably the biggest thing you could do for an elementary school kid in a sports town like Philadelphia. You bring on a Super Bowl contender. You bring on a star quarterback and several other teammates as well to talk to the kids about anything, and they gonna go up for it. So Gia, I was shocked to see this. I don't think I was spoiled. I didn't know it was coming, but when it happened, I thought, yeah, Quinta did exactly what needed to be done.
Oh, I did not. I'm not a huge sports person, but I did know who Jalen Hurts was. So that, the bar was in hell and I surpassed it. But I think that like these little cameos like that shows what a big deal Abbott Elementary has become, because it's not just that they got a football player to make a cameo on Abbott Elementary. It's the fact that all of the factors that you said, Philly is a huge sports town, but particularly football. Like ask what happened the last time the Eagles won a Super Bowl. Like it was a riot. It was like a literal riot. It was incredible. So like this is a town that takes football very seriously. Jalen Hurts is obviously someone held in very high regard, especially over there. And he's like a very well-known, currently active player. So this was a really great get. And we also had 2 other football players show up as well. So we get more of the more stars in there, more athletes. So I think it just shows the reach that Abbott Elementary is currently having on people. And the fact that they did get Jalen Hurts for this, I thought, he was very, very funny. He knew what he was doing. It was great. I cracked up at when he was responsible for watching a class and he got them to play 7-Up with him. Like just everything about it. I just thought that was so funny. It was great. And it also gave us an opportunity to show like people thinking on the end of their feet so that they could have Jalen Hurts in every class as well. So overall, it's just like a very great use of the cameo. And I'm really glad they got to do something like this for the beginning of season 3, especially for how long we had been waiting for that.
Yeah, they owed us this. And it was a good moment. It was a great moment for Janine. The district gets to see how resilient she is. They brought her in because she's good on her feet as far as ideas and making things happen for these kids. And so her being able to stream Jalen Hurts in every classroom looked great for her. It was a freaking miracle, Gia. And sadly for Gary, it was the sign that he needed to get Jalen Hurts, none other than Jalen Hurts, to help him with his proposal to Melissa Schmidt. Now, Gia, okay, I heard her say, I don't want to get married. But if I'm Gary, you cannot pass this opportunity up. You have to try, because here it is. She said, I don't want to get married. Yes. She also said it have to take a freaking miracle. Cool.
Yeah,
She admits the freaking miracle.
So I think now I think Gary would have taken this option even if she didn't say it would take a miracle part. So because he had still been hinting at wanting to propose to her even before she dropped that line about the miracle. But I don't think it helped any matters that she said that, because it so you're telling me there's a chance. It's
There's
very yes, there's an opportunity in there. I think in general, we just need to veer away from the idea of these grand proposals in front of lots of people, especially at someone's place of work. So I'm glad that Abbott Elementary took the time to do that, even though I do really like Gary as a character here. But it was I got a little cringe from it. It was okay cringe because I knew this was probably going to happen. And yeah, it was a miracle. It just was not the miracle that I think he or really anyone was hoping for. And just like a PSA for people in general, if the person in your life that you want to propose to says anything similar to what Melissa said about not wanting to get married at all, maybe just take that into consideration, and also just don't do a public proposal unless your partner really wants that, unless they are someone that is like, I want a huge proposal where it is in front of a bunch of people and you do all of these things. I think that's a conversation. Talk about your proposal plans. Okay. It's not unromantic to ask to actually plan out a proposal together, or say at least the limits of what you do and do not want. It does not take any romance out of it. It probably will save a lot of awkward conversations, or the I'm sorry, even though this was a very awkward moment, I did laugh when Jalen said, oh damn, they usually say yes.
It's like, that's the thing. They usually say yes. I think that there's a lot of people who would have said yes to just spare this man the embarrassment of getting turned down in front of all the kids and Jalen Hurts. In the entire student body watched this basically. So this is a learning opportunity, like you said, because I think there's a point in your life where you have to realize that you should not be proposing to someone who doesn't know they're going to get proposed to. There is an element of surprise that you can have about maybe when the proposal happens, but the person, you have to be very clear before that even happens that person wants to marry you. It should not be a will they say yes or no. That is all a formality. You should be getting down on your knee knowing that this is the moment. This is the checkout line. Everything prior to this, that was when you go in and be like yes or no, try to the room, and he had been getting signals throughout that entire episode that the answer was no. So when he took that one little morsel of truth from the freaking miracle, I just knew this was the breakup. There's no coming back from this. If someone tells you it would take a freaking miracle for them to want to marry you, you should start looking at that and saying, okay, if it takes that much of an act of God for this to happen, maybe this person doesn't want to make it happen, and maybe I shouldn't be so invested in this happening with this person. And so we see that afterwards, I think Gary is pretty much done here on Abbott Elementary. Him and Melissa Schmidt talk, and it's very clear that they need to go their separate ways. He wants to get married. She never wants to get married. And those two ideas are never going to cross, right? They're always going to want those things for their life. And that's okay. So moving forward, they're going to move forward separately and not together. Gia, we like them together. Are you sad to see
He
that Gary is
did.
potentially gone?
So I'm sad that this episode ended in a breakup, but I think for storytelling purposes, like Melissa's character does not need to be in a relationship or get married for me to still like the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for them to end because they want different things, because really that's the end of the day. Like, even if this proposal hadn't happened, Gary wants to get married, Melissa doesn't want to get married. At some point, they're going to come to a crossroads about that. And where, we're gonna have, we as the fans are gonna have to deal with the fallout of, like, yes, these are two characters that wanted different things, and that happens sometimes. I think there's a lot of value into the story that is told about Gary and Melissa's relationship as a whole. I think that it was great to see a show as big as Abbott Elementary making a statement like that, where it's like, hey, like, it seems so small, but
Mm-hmm.
hey, if a woman, because particularly women, because I think as a society we have a long way to go with accepting the fact that maybe not all women want to get married for one reason or another, especially somebody that has already been married before. I think
Mm-hmm.
that there was a lot to gain from having this story end with Melissa doesn't want to get married. She is happy being in a relationship and not having marriage be the end goal of that. And no to marriage means no to marriage. It's not something that you can convince anybody of. Likewise, I think they handled Gary's character well. Like, did he mess up? Yeah, he probably shouldn't have done this public proposal for somebody that did not want to get married. However, I think they ended this arc with him on a good note. He is someone that wants to get married. That is a plan for him. And this is just not a relationship that was meant to last for him, because he wants that goal and Melissa is someone that does not want that goal. So I like that they did not villainize him while also recognizing that these two just wanted separate things. And I hope that we do get to see some more of Gary, probably less often. We really didn't see him that often in the first place, but maybe like a few cameos here and there, like what they did with Tariq in season 2, sprinkled him
Mm-hmm.
in there every once in a while. So I think something like that is perfect. I would love, he didn't lose his job with the vending
Yeah.
machines. So I hope we do get to see him in some little cameos here and there. Maybe we get like a follow-up on his story. Maybe he does meet someone that he wants to get married further down the road. So, I think that would be a really interesting thing for him. So while I think this is the end, there's no point to revisit the relationship between Gary and Melissa. But I do think that there is potential for Gary to come back in the future, because they did end on, I think, for all things, it ended, but it ended on a good note. It was an amicable breakup. They want different things, and that's okay.
And that's okay. She tells him that he might feel like a zero, but he's a Philly 11. And I mean, what higher compliment can you get during a breakup? So throughout this
I
episode,
know.
yeah, I was like, I felt for him, but at the same time, like, come on, man, you saw this, you had to see this one coming. So throughout this episode, we get the breakup of Melissa and Gary. We get Janine's promotion into this fellowship with the district, and she felt like her career day didn't go great. Jalen Hurts obviously stole the show, and a lot of the different careers were not explored. But the district really, they really, I guess, appreciate her ability to improvise, right? Like, she's like Wayne Brady, on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Spoiler alert, it's Wayne Brady's line. It always is. And so now they're able to give her this new position. So we also see her and Gregory reconnect, and it's clear that they both miss each other. And he was saying that in the moment where he was, I guess, in the time that they haven't been talking, he's been giving her space because he thought that he was the reason she left the school after their conversation where he kind of told her he wasn't into the relationship thing. So they have reconnected as friends. It's been a wild 5 months, but we're back. Gia, the season is on its way. The school year is underway, and I think that this is going to be a very fun, short but fun season of Abbott Elementary moving forward, because we still got a lot to address, right? We need to figure out what Janine's going to do as far as like with the district. What comes from that? Does she just go back to being a teacher, or does she get maybe a higher role? Is there ever any Gregory and Janine, coupling by the end of this season? Does Melissa find love anywhere else in episodes 3 and 4? I think there might be some hints that maybe she could be looking in other directions, and so we have a lot to talk about. But I'm so happy that you're here to join me again for this journey. This has been fun. And I, of course, welcome you to the Recap Kickback. You're always welcome, Gia. It's a pleasure having you as a co-host. And I'm really hoping that we're able to keep this going for as long as Abbott Elementary is going. This is what you call job security, Gia.
Yes. And speaking of job security, Abbott Elementary got renewed for season 4.
Hey, we back, baby.
I am so excited about that. I'm excited about Recap Kickback. See, I'm learning how to say it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Practice makes perfect. And I'm so excited to see what is happening with the rest of the season. It'll be a shorter season, but I'm hoping it'll be a great bridge between what really feels like, there are not many shows right now that have 22 episode seasons like Abbott Elementary does. We are becoming a dying species right now. So while this season in particular is shorter, I am so excited to see the arc that we get in season 3, and hopefully as it bridges from what I felt was a beautifully long season 2 with 22 episodes, and bridge the gap for hopefully a 22 episode season 4 as well, and to see all of the great things in there. And while I am sad that we get a little bit shorter of a season for season 3, it has to be said, the work from the writer's strike, if that assures that, we get, as writers, they are paid much more fairly than they previously were and get equitable deals for themselves and their fellow writers, all the more power to them, and feel much better watching the show knowing that all of this great work came in there. And the little nods they gave to the writer's strike throughout the premiere were also great.
Yeah. Loving it. Happy for the writers and happy for us and happy for the listeners here at Recap Kickback, because now we got Abbott Elementary coverage. So Gia, thanks again. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you've been working on in the meantime, because you and I just did some stuff together as well. So
we did.
Talk about it.
Yes. So you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Classically Gia for all of my reality TV shenanigans. First things first, Survivor 46 is airing. Survivor, as many people know, is my bread and butter, my reality TV, whereas Abbott is my scripted series bread and butter. So I will be doing the recaps for Survivor 46 over on Silent Podcast with my show I Don't Know About That. And over on Inside Survivor, we just released our draft picks for Survivor 46, but we'll also be doing our weekly roundups with my good friend Christine Palin. And on I Don't Know About That, to celebrate Black History Month, Chappell and I competed in our Black Survivor quiz, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It's called I Do Know About That. It was us with LaTanya Starks and 3 former Survivor players. That is Dwight Moore, James Jones, and Katora Tops. It was such a fun time, and I won't spoil the winner, but they're not present on this podcast right now. So, I would definitely recommend checking that out. It was a fantastic time, and we a great time all around. So please do check that out. And also just check out everything Recap Kickback right now. Chappell's a gem. His guests are gems. It's all great.
Thank you so much, Gia. And of course, yes, go to recapkickback.com, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Go to the YouTube page and make sure you click like, subscribe, and tell a friend about Recap Kickback, because we're going to try to do a little bit of everything here. Recently, I just dropped my first ever one-on-one podcast with Rob way back from 2020 on my Recap Kickback feed. And so you might have heard me talking to Rob about the Enneagram. It's a great listen. It was very fun to talk about Rob, but some people have been telling me that it was very helpful and they've shared it with their friends and family. So you can do the same thing. Send the YouTube link to whomever you think can find it helpful, and make sure you spread the word about Recap Kickback. in the near future, Puya and I will be covering the end of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We'll be rounding out our coverage of that. We talked about the premiere a couple weeks ago. Now it's time to wrap that up. Mari and I every week are counting down our top 5 of every Black movie / television genre for the month of February for our Black History Month series. And this week we had Tracy J on from the A Who All Gonna Be There podcast to talk about the top 5 Black romance movies. This week coming up, we'll have Jason Reed on to talk about the top 5 Black sitcoms of all time. Spoiler alert, it's going to be a long list, y'all. There's a lot of Black sitcoms. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about them with Jason and Mari. So check that out. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Recap Kickback and on all social media platforms. And let me know what else there is that you want us to talk about here on Recap Kickback. For Gia and myself, you ain't got to go home, but you know the rest. Peace out. Talk to you all later.